r/AskReddit by Redmond Dts. People that have had some one object at your wedding. What happened? I was at a wedding where there were 3 parties, the brides, the grooms, and the groom's mothers. She hated the bride, thought she was not good enough for her son, etc. I was friends with both bride and groom, and they had to invite the groom's mom and dad, but they had the priest avoid the objection part of the ceremony. At the reception, there was a moment where the groom's father danced with the bride, and a few minutes later she stormed off the dance floor. The groom's dad had offered her $5,000 cash to walk away right then and there and have the marriage annulled. The reception featured a flambeau entree, and everybody was watching the groom's mother, half expecting her to grab one of the flaming skewers from one of the waiters and hurl it at the bride. They are still married 30 years later and have 2 kids, but I believe they are estranged from the groom's family for some reason. As the story goes, my parents' wedding was officiated by my mother's grandfather. When asked if there were any objections to my parents' wedding, my father's parents rose and stood silently. This was not a surprise. My mother and my father's parents did not get along at all. Everyone knew this, so it wasn't a surprise. In response to their silent disapproval, my great-grandfather lauded their silence, standing by saying something along the lines of, the parents of the groom have risen in support of the couple. Thank you. It's unclear how the attendees responded, but my paternal grandparents left silently at that point. I never met them, but I think I'm glad I didn't. My dad marrying his 3rd wife. My stepbrother and I were in the wedding party. He was about 6, I was 10. The preacher asks if anyone objects and my brother raises his hand so very politely. My dad asks why, and my stepbrother replies, because I want you to promise to take me fishing whenever I want first. My cousin was marrying a Korean guy she went to grad school with. His family had come in from abroad and were sitting all together on one side of the room. When they got to the objection part, this Korean girl yells out no, and stands up and starts screaming in Korean at the groom. As everyone is trying to figure out what the hell is going on, an old lady calmly walks up to the girl and slaps her face. The girl starts sobbing as some more older women grab her and pull her outside. The explanation was that she was just a drunk friend that didn't want him marrying an American. Found out later that the girl was actually a childhood sweetheart that was screaming how the groom promised to marry her. Which was awkward since the two were related to each other in some way, was not quite sure how. Anyway, cousin and her husband are quite happy, so no harm in the end. I was at my cousin's wedding and someone screamed at the top of their lungs. Objection, Your Honor. Because my cousin is a judge. My wife's uncle, who owned the farm we were getting married, stood up at the objection part. Immediately, his son, who was the man of honor, yelled at him to sit down. To his credit, he did. For about 12 seconds, then stood up again. He objected because there was a big freaking storm coming up the driveway and about to smack the ceremony, and all of our hurrying couldn't beat it. My wife made it inside before getting drenched. No one else did. Got married inside instead. Not my wedding, but at a friend's. A family member paid some kid $20 to run in and say, "Daddy, don't marry that woman." Like it was his child. Did not go over well as a prank at all. My dad seen an objection. He volunteers at a church. The bride and groom were siblings, and their father hadn't told them until he objected. I believe he was estranged to both of them. They already had a kid apparently. First wedding in Vegas. Found a homeless guy to be a witness in exchange for a sandwich from Subway. Objected because it didn't have olives like he wanted. Priest here. Where I am, the only objection people can make is a legal one. It doesn't matter if they merely don't approve. I had one objection at a wedding, where the person who spoke claimed the groom was already married. That's enough to stop the wedding. Turned out they were Serbian, which I knew, and didn't know our legal system. The groom hadn't realized the church wedding was also the legal wedding, so they'd married each other in a civil ceremony a few days before. That was fun to sort out. How did you sort it out? I had to contact the registry office and check on the status of the groom. I was shocked that legally only one person was required to give the information and sign. So if that one person didn't know about the other person's previous marriage, they could sign in all honesty and still find themselves in a bigamous marriage. In my case, the registry office found out who the groom had married, so there was relief and laughter, and not too much delay. I objected to my sister marrying her second husband 6 months after her divorce. She told me to F off. Married him anyway. They now have 3 kids and are happily married. When my cousin got married to her wife, her parents, grandparents and a few other older family members stood up and walked out. They didn't say anything or try to stop the wedding. It was just a symbol of their disapproval. My cousin was pretty devastated because she thought the attendance meant they had changed their mind and wanted to support her, but it was just a trick. Not quite an objection, but sharing anyway. When my dad and stepmother married, my little brother was a toddler and had a hilarious and contagious laugh. Right when the objection part came up, he decided to fill the moment of silence and then couldn't stop laughing at himself in a vicious cycle. Had to stop the wedding so everyone could regain their composure, because he had everyone else laughing so hard. Since I live in Russia, a common thing. A fight broke out and then everyone made up. At our friend's marriage, there was a storm building outside. When the "does anyone object" part came up, there was a flash of lightning and a huge thunderclap. The power went out, and by candlelight the pastor said "I'm not counting that," and finished the ceremony. They were married 30 years, then she died from leukemia. The video of their wedding is awesome. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.